everybody, Ducky here. Welcome back to the channel. I saw a prompt recently on Twitter that was basically asking people to discuss their coming out story during Pride Month. Now, I know I'm a little late. It's like either the 10th or 11th or the 12th of June, so we're about halfway through Pride Month. But I figured that I would go ahead and share my story. And I figured what better way to do that than play Hades while I talk about it, because everybody knows that Hades is for the LGBTQ people and the Greek mythology nerds, and I happen to be both. So, in case you didn't know, I identify as bisexual. That's just the label that I have chosen to give myself. I do have more of a preference towards women than men, but obviously, bisexual is a spectrum, just like everything in the LGBTQ community. And I think I first started questioning my sexuality in high school, which isn't that uncommon, especially for like most people, I would say, because like you're going through puberty, you're learning, you're being exposed to new stuff. And I would say, I'm not like the most vocal, I guess, about the way that I identify and things like that. It's not like the sole part of my personality. I keep it pretty on the down low, I guess I would say. And I don't know, I'm just more comfortable like that. But I also think that discussing my experience will kind of shed some light on things. I guess the first thing I should bring up is that while I was questioning my sexuality, like I was still going to church pretty regularly with my family. I still identify as Christian as well. I know that's confusing to some people, which I might try and get into it a little bit later, and I'll try not to ramble too much, but I can't guarantee anything. Um, so at this time, it was just really conflicting because, church says one thing, and then, I'm feeling a completely different way than I guess what I'm quote unquote supposed to be feeling. And so there was kind of a lot of inner turmoil, and I was friends with the person that I had a crush on. She was stunning. I didn't really realize at the time that I liked her the way that I liked her. Um, just because, like, you're figuring things out. I'd never really felt that way before, so I wasn't too sure what to make of it. And I realized a couple years later, like, oh, that's why I felt that way. But like I said at the time, I had no idea. So, I'm kind of teetering on the edge of like, I think I like girls too. Like, I've had crushes on guys. Like, I don't really know where I sit. I'm being exposed to people in the LGBTQ community. And I'm kind of like, oh, like, this is not at all what I was taught, you know, growing up in the church. Like, these people aren't the devil. They're not, like, satanic and gonna freaking murder me and make blood sacrifices to the moon. Like, they're just regular ass people. And so my perspective really started to shift. But then I went into college and I was having a lot of issues with one of my coaches. He was incredibly abusive. And at this time, I was still trying to figure out my sexuality. And I kept it very quiet. I didn't, like, my family didn't really know that that was something I was struggling with because I definitely felt like I wasn't going to be able to tell them. Because it's like, we're all religious. And, like, there was always the fear of rejection. Like, you know how parents will always say, oh, you know, I'll love you no matter what. It's like, okay, yeah, but what about this? Does that still apply with this? And so I was really scared and I didn't tell anybody about it. So with all of this stuff going on, I started like lashing out a lot, especially at my one sister. And I feel really bad about it still, but she was like my safe place of like I can get mad at her because she's still going to care about me. And I think the first people that I told, like, hey, this is what I'm questioning about myself, were Danny, Connor, Chris, Kanai, and Deirdre. They're online friends of mine who I've known since high school. They're fantastic individuals, and they were so accepting and so supportive. But the thing was, like, I wasn't scared to tell them. I felt comfortable telling them because, like, one, I'd gotten to know them, but then also it it was comfortable. They'd never given me a reason to be apprehensive or scared or feel like, oh, hey, if I tell this to them, they're going to like ostracize me and say all these horrible things. And so that was really nice because I'd finally been able to kind of get it off of my chest instead of just sitting on it for a while. But then, there was still like the Christian guilt of it and the feeling of like I'm doing something or I'm feeling a way that I'm not supposed to feel. So I actually ended up going to a Christian therapist, and I didn't tell my parents really that's why I was seeing a therapist. I kind of just gave them a different excuse for it because again, I didn't feel like I was really in a position to tell them. And this therapist was amazing. She was like, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to say, like you're a terrible person, you're going to go to hell and things like that. She was like, I'm just here to help you. And so she was super, super sweet and, gave me these charts and like these workbooks to kind of work through and process my feelings and my conflicts. And, she had asked me like, what's your concern about telling your parents? And I said, well, my concern is that like I'm going to be disowned. And like I don't think that I could handle that. Like I love my family. I've always been, like a daddy's girl. I was like I just that terrifies me and like I don't want to be rejected in that way because it's not something that I can control. She's like, "No, I totally understand." And so at the time, I was still trying to figure things out and I didn't have any sort of intention of coming out and telling my parents. I didn't have that in a like planned out at all. I was like I'm going to tell them when I'm certain and when I figured things out through therapy. Like that's when I'll tell them, it'll be on my terms. And that is not at all what happened. So I was visiting cuz this was around COVID times, and so college was thrown off, school schedule was thrown off. Like everything was really weird, so that was stressful as well. Like it was just a really rough time in my life. And so I was visiting my family, and it was late at night. I want to say it was around like 10 o'clock or so. And my parents said, hey, you're going to come sit down and we're going to talk. I was like, okay, that's never a good sign. It feels like, oh, go to the principal's office, or like you're at the airport, you're going through TSA, you don't have anything bad on you, but you're like, what if there's randomly a bomb in my backpack that I didn't know about, Like it's not a good feeling. So I was like, I'm like in serious trouble here. Well, we go out to like the front room, which is semi adjacent to the family room, and they're like, we need to talk. Like, you're clearly having emotional issues. We don't know what it is. Like, you need to tell us. And I had said, like, I'm having issues with coaches. I'm having issues, like, with this. I'm having issues with mom because I just feel like she's so angry and hateful about a lot of things, especially during COVID. Like, I was really at odds with my mom. I felt like she was always trashing on people that had different walks of life than her. And I couldn't understand that. Because to me, it seemed, and it felt so hateful. It was always like, oh, well, trans people this and gay people that. And so she was just giving a lot of signals of like, she can't know this about me because it's not going to be okay and she's not going to take it well. And it really bothered me because it was like, she doesn't know this is something that I'm dealing with, but she's still like destroying these other people for no reason and talking about them in a way that doesn't make sense. And so I said, hey, like, these are the issues that I'm having. And then my mom was like, oh, so I'm a terrible mother, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I wish that you wouldn't talk this way about people who have different walks of life. Like, they're not evil, terrible people just because they don't live the same lifestyle that you do. And I was really trying to get her to see that perspective, and she was really fighting against it. And she very much did not give me any sort of indication that I could tell her that I felt like I was bisexual. And so, we were going around and around for a while. And I was like, I don't really have anything else to say to you. Like, this conversation clearly isn't going anywhere. And my dad was like, no, there's something else that you need to tell us. And he was like, it's okay. And I was like, no, like, I don't have anything else to say. I want to go to bed. And my mom was like, you're not leaving the room until you tell us, like, what it is that you're hiding from us. And I was like, I don't think that you can do that. Like, I want to go to bed. Like, I don't want to be in this conversation anymore. Like, I'm not, in what universe would I feel comfortable telling, you know, her how I'm feeling if this is the way that she's reacting to quote unquote other people on a day to day basis. So, I'm sitting there really quiet and I'm having this severe internal conflict of like, well, do I tell them? Because, like, they're not going to leave this alone unless I say something. And I remember feeling so nauseous. Like, I thought that I was going to throw up all over the floor. I did not feel like I was going to be okay. And I sat there, I think, dead silent for like 5 minutes because I thought, well, if I just don't say anything, they'll drop it. Like, if I'm quiet long enough, they won't talk about it anymore. They won't try to pry stuff out of me. That didn't work. They just sat there and stared at me and were basically waiting for an answer. And I finally just kind of broke and I got really choked up and I was like, hey, fine, like, I guess I'll tell you because you're not going to let me leave. I said, I think that I'm bisexual. And the room got really quiet. And I remember thinking, like, I'm actually going to throw up. I got really hot. And you know that feeling, like, where you get a lot of spit in your mouth and your body's, like, preparing you to vomit? Like, I almost felt like I was going to pass out. And my dad was the first one to break the silence. And he goes, okay, sweetheart, like, I knew that. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't really know how to respond to that. He goes, my next question is, like, do you feel like you're transgender? Or, like, do you just like girls and guys? He's like, I'm trying to figure out, like, where you're sitting. I said, no, like, I'm a girl. I don't feel like a guy. Like, I'm not transgender or anything like that. And my mom still hadn't said anything. And that made me really nervous. And then finally she was like, well, I don't believe that. And I was like, well, I'm telling you how I feel. Like, I don't care really if you don't believe it. Like, that's where I'm at right now. And I told her, like, I was going to therapy for it. Like, I was trying to figure stuff out. Like, I didn't want to tell them because I didn't feel comfortable. And my mom, I forget what else she had said, but I was like, look, I can't help it. This is just how I feel. Like, I didn't wake up one day and go, hey, I'm going to choose to feel this way. Like, it just happened. And I can't explain to you when it happened or, like, how it happened or, what the process was. But this is where I'm at. And she had said, well, pedophiles can't control it either. And that devastated me because I was like, oh my God, my mother just compared me to a pedophile. Which, first of all, being, bisexual or gay or lesbian, it isn't anywhere near the same thing as being a pedophile. And ironically, she was trying to say this to me as somebody who's a forensic psych major. And I can clearly dispel, why they're different. And the biggest thing is it has to do with, one, gender, and two, age. Like, with pedophiles specifically, it's an age thing. They can have a gender preference, and even then, they can have an age preference. But that's a psychological, like, chemical imbalance in their brain. And if you're, gay, lesbian, bisexual, it's completely different. You're dating consenting adults, or let's say you're both like 15 years old and you're dating each other. Like, you're old enough to consent, and it's, a relationship of mutual trust and respect, or at least it should be. And it has nothing to do with age. You're not diddling kids, and it's a gender preference. It has nothing to do with the things that pedophiles like. And so it got really quiet again, and I don't really think my dad knew what to say. I definitely didn't know what to say. I think I was just really shocked that she had said that. So, I tried to tell her, like, no, they're two very different things. They're not even remotely comparable. But she didn't really want to hear it. And needless to say, that kind of just confirmed my fear and the reason why I didn't want to tell her in the first place. And I can't really remember what happened after that. Um, I was very upset, and I cried about it a lot. Um, and it was something that continued to come up after the fact, specifically with my mother more than my dad. My dad was very accepting. He told me that he kind of knew a long time ago. He was just waiting for me to, you know, basically say something about it. And there was another time that my mom had said, "Hey, it's not that I don't love you. It's just every time I look at you, that's going to be something that's in the back of my mind." And for those who don't know me on a personal level, my mom couldn't get pregnant for a very long time. She had to do IVF, so I'm a science baby. And this whole time I thought, how ironic is it that you struggled so hard to have children and you can't really truly love the one that you have? And obviously, that's something that's very difficult to come to terms with. And it's still not something that I really talk about with my mom. Um, it's kind of a topic that's not discussed. I remember telling her, hey, I did some research. That passage in the Bible was mistranslated. It has to deal with pedophiles. There's nothing in the Bible about, homosexuals. And she said, I would think that if that were true, the church would have admitted that it was wrong. And I said, well, the church has done a lot of really crappy things and doesn't like to take ownership of that. And I think she was very concerned that I wasn't going to be Christian anymore. I still am. I firmly believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And I'm of the opinion that, okay, if this does end up being a sin, fine, whatever. Jesus died for me like he did for everybody else. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be a good person, and I'm going to choose to love people no matter who they are or where they come from or what they identify as, so long as they aren't actively hurting other people. That's my stance. And if I die and I go to hell because of this, that says more about God and the Bible than it will ever say about me. And she didn't take kindly to that. And I told her that, if she's going to have a problem, if I end up marrying a woman and she can't get over it, then I won't invite her to the wedding. And she didn't take that kindly either. Now, I think over the past few years, she's kind of come around to it. She's still definitely not okay with it. She doesn't like what I mentioned, like, oh, I think this, person's really attractive. And I think it makes her really, really uncomfortable, but she's not as outwardly hateful about things. But on the plus side, my dad did say at one point, I told your mother that she's going to have to get over it and love you no matter what because you're my child. And if she can't do that, then she's going to have to go somewhere else. So that meant a lot, especially because I am such a daddy's girl. Like, I love my dad so much. And, like, I'm not trying to make things depressing. I just think it's really important to share your story, especially because things have gotten to a certain extent better over the past couple of years. But now it's starting to regress again, and there's a lot of hate towards people in the LGBTQ community, and I don't think it's fair at all, and I don't think it's okay, because so many of those people, and like in this community, are wonderful human beings. They care so deeply, they're so empathetic, they're so emotionally intelligent, and they're everywhere. Like, they exist in all walks of life. They are in politics. Like, we're everywhere, and you can't really get rid of something that's been around forever. Um, and I also just kind of want to say and bring attention to the fact that there is a community of people who are in the LGBTQ community and are religious. And before, like, I really looked into it on the internet, I thought I was a complete and total anomaly. I didn't think that there were other people who were Christian and also in the LGBTQ community. But there are. And that is so reassuring. So if you are out there and you're a Christian and you are feeling this way, you are normal, you are valid. I see you, I hear you. Like, it's okay. And I mean, I don't really have much else to say. I love my mom. Things have definitely gotten better over the years. I think it's important to recognize that, like, your parents will need a bit of an adjustment period, but that does not give them the right to degrade you and insinuate that you are some type of criminal just for existing. I wish that I'd had the backbone to get up and walk away and to come out on my own time. I did not get that opportunity. I really wish that I did. I was robbed of that, and I'm really heartbroken about it. And I would say hold your parents accountable. I brought up the fact that my mom had made the pedophile comparison, and she and my father both denied it. My mom said she did not say that, and my dad said that I might have misinterpreted what she'd said. And I was like, oh no, like she said that. I know what she said. She won't take ownership of that, which I guess I should expect. But yeah, it's interesting. It's tough because you would think that in like 2025 or at least in the 2020s, it wouldn't be a thing where we're having to fight so hard in our own families just to feel like normal people. And unfortunately, that is the case. And I guess there's not much we can do about it other than share our stories and let people know like we're still here. It's not gonna change. Like we are who we are. And if that makes you upset, like I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like we're not here to hurt people. That's not our goal. We just want to live our lives and carry on and be treated like normal people. Like I'm not trying to shove my feelings down anybody else's throat. You know, I don't go around telling everybody all the time, "Hey, I'm bisexual." But also I shouldn't have to do that to be heard and seen because if you treat me like a normal person without knowing that about me and then your behavior changes when you do know that about me, that says more about you than it's ever going to say about me. Plain and simple. So, that's my story. Kind of an unfortunate one. Obviously, there are some people who have it way worse than I had it and way more traumatizing than I had it. I would say I got off pretty easy, all things considered. But I just felt like sharing that this Pride Month because I haven't really shared it publicly before. And you know, the Twitter prompt really kind of got me thinking like maybe this is something that I should talk about. So there it is. That's my story. Let me know how you guys, came out. Was it an easy thing? Was it a difficult thing? Are you also religious? Feel free to talk about that down in the comments. I would love to hear your stories. If you're not sure how to come out or anything like that, I would love to give you some advice. Obviously, I don't know everything. If I did, I wouldn't be making YouTube content. I'd probably be like secretly part of the government as a weird biological weapon or some shit. But, anyways, I digress. Thank you guys for being here, for being part of my community and this channel. You're all fantastic and amazing. I appreciate you so, so, so much. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share some love. Let your LGBTQ friends know that you love them, that you see them, that you hear them. Let them know that they're safe with you. Sometimes it's taken for granted and it may seem like a given, but it really does mean a lot to have that safety net and that security and being reminded of it. So please go spread some love. Take care of each other. Look out for each other. Just be kind. Everybody has the right to exist. Don't forget that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.